Desperate to survive, he grabbed a knife and stabbed wildly at the water. To his surprise, he ended up catching a small shark. Since they had been stranded at sea, they hadn't eaten for a week. They had no choice but to stab the shark in the belly with their dagger. Sure enough, there were some small fish inside the shark's stomach. Starving, they grabbed them and stuffed them into their mouths. This was their first meal in a week. Once they had eaten their fill, they stored the remaining fish meat in their socks. Knowing that the road to survival was still long ahead, they had to cherish this hard-won food. By the time they finished, the lifeboat was covered in blood. They had no choice but to clean it up with their clothes. Unaware that the scent of blood would soon attract sharks, the captain urged his teammates not to go near the edge of the raft, lest they easily become the shark's next meal. They could only sit there, afraid to move. But late at night, when all was quiet, one young man forgot the captain's warning. Without a word, he reached into the sea to wash his face. The next second, he was bitten by a shark. Fortunately, it was a small shark. Seeing that the bite wasn't very deep, the captain immediately found a piece of cloth to bandage it. From then on, they had to be extremely careful. As the days passed, they had been adrift in the Pacific for nearly half a month. When hungry, they ate some fish. When thirsty, they drank the seawater. Fortunately, the young man's wound didn't become infected, and in order to return to land as soon as possible, they prayed to the heavens every day, hoping to encounter a passing ship. But while their hopes were high, reality was harsh. They never encountered a single vessel. Even more terrifying was that their food and water were running out. Just as everyone was about to faint from hunger, one of the young men suddenly raised a pistol. At first, his teammates thought he'd lost his mind, but he aimed the gun at the captain. It turned out that an albatross had flown right past the captain. Starving, he pulled the trigger without a second thought. The captain, coming to his senses, quickly jumped into the sea, but just as he was about to swim back, he spotted a shark heading straight for him. Terrified, the others shouted for him to return. However, at that critical moment, the gun jammed at the worst possible time. To save his life, the captain swam toward the lifeboat and finally climbed aboard at the very last second. And so, risking his life, the captain managed to secure a little meat for them. But as they were eating, one of the young men suddenly realized, if albatrosses were found in this area, didn't that mean they weren't far from land? The captain, however, pointed out that these birds could fly thousands of kilometers. Just as they were about to die of thirst, the sky suddenly darkened with storm clouds. It looked as if a storm was about to break. Seeing this, the captain quickly roused everyone and had them prepare to catch the rainwater with their clothes. But just as they were enjoying this gift from heaven, the downpour suddenly and inexplicably stopped. You have to admit, the weather out here in the Pacific is truly bizarre. Before they could even catch their breath, a thunderclap suddenly split the sky. In that instant, the captain sensed something was terribly wrong. He quickly ordered his teammates to pack up their belongings, because this meant a hurricane was about to strike. Sure enough, the very next second, a massive wave mercilessly capsized the life raft. When the team members saw that the captain was nowhere to be found, they reached out to pull him back up. But in the face of nature, humans are incredibly small. The three of them, along with the life raft, were all tossed into the water, and all the supplies on board sank into the ocean. Watching as one teammate vanished from sight, the captain and another crew member shouted frantically. They finally spotted their missing teammate on the other side. Seeing that the storm had calmed down slightly, the three mustered all their strength to right the lifeboat and climbed back on board. There, huddled together in a tight circle, they braced themselves for the ordeal nature had thrown at them. Fortunately, by the next day, the sea had finally returned to its usual calm. But after this ordeal, they were completely drained of strength, lying on the life raft awaiting their fate. Yet one young man refused to accept death so easily. Thinking of his fiancée waiting for him at home, he reignited his will to survive. His actions inspired the other two as well, and they began paddling with all their might to keep the life raft moving. But after paddling for hours, they encountered no ships. Just as they were preparing to face their inevitable end, one of the young men suddenly made a joyful discovery. An island had appeared not far away. When the others saw the island as well, they realized it was no illusion. At that moment, they burst into tears of joy. After 34 days and a journey of over 1,000 miles, the poor souls finally returned to the long-missed land. And so the film ends.